When an avoidant begins to develop real feelings, the first and most revealing sign is how they test emotional safety before allowing themselves to move closer. Their instinct is not to lean into love, but to protect themselves from it, because for them, love carries the possibility of disappointment, rejection, or losing control over their inner world. They do not experience connection as something simple. They analyze it, observe it, and measure it against the emotional wounds they carry from the past. They must understand if the space between you is safe enough for them to uncover even one layer of their guarded heart. And so they test emotional safety in ways that are subtle, silent, and often misunderstood by the people who care for them. They begin by pulling back at unexpected moments. You may feel a spark building, a genuine connection forming, and just when it seems natural for them to step closer, they take a step back instead. This is the avoidant's way of asking a question they will never voice aloud. Are you going to pressure me? Are you going to react with anger? Are you going to make me responsible for your emotions? They retreat, not because they want the distance, but because they want to see how you respond to it. They want to know if your presence remains steady, or if you become demanding the moment they are not available in the way you want them to be. To them, your reaction is a direct reflection of your emotional stability, and emotional stability is what they crave more than anything, even more than affection itself. Avoidants also test safety by giving you mixed signals. They may show warmth one day and coolness the next, not because they enjoy confusion, but because conflicting emotions rise inside them when they care. Love awakens longing, but it also awakens fear. They do not know how to balance these two forces, so they push and pull in an attempt to regulate themselves. When you respond with patience rather than panic, with understanding rather than accusation, you prove that connection with you does not threaten their sense of control. They need to feel like they will not drown inside your emotions. They need to know that you will not demand explanations every time their own feelings overwhelm them. Another part of their testing involves watching how you handle emotional ambiguity. They are observing whether you rush in to define the relationship, whether you pressure them for labels, or whether you give them the space to process things in their slower, cautious pace. Avoidants fall in love gradually, quietly, in the shadows of their own mind long before they ever admit it. If you push them to reveal more than they are ready to share, they retreat deeper into themselves. But if you show that you can sit comfortably in uncertainty without losing your sense of self, they begin to soften. They see that you are not waiting to consume them with your expectations. You are simply present, consistent, and calm. Avoidants also test safety by revealing small vulnerabilities in seemingly random moments. They might tell you something about their past that they do not usually share. They might express a feeling indirectly, disguised as a joke or a passing comment. They do this to see whether you treat their openness with gentleness or use it to gain emotional leverage. If you respond with compassion, if you do not make their disclosure bigger than they intended, they learn that opening up to you does not lead to emotional punishment. You become a safe space rather than a threat. They test emotional safety by observing how you deal with disappointment as well. If they cancel plans, if they need time alone, if they suddenly become quiet, they watch carefully. They want to know if you can regulate your own emotions or if you will fall apart in ways that they will feel responsible for. Avoidants are drawn toward people who have emotional grounding because grounding helps balance the storm they carry within. When you show that you can stay centered even when they shift unexpectedly, you demonstrate that you are not dependent on them for emotional validation. Even your independence becomes a signal of safety to them. If you have your own life, your own goals, your own routine, it reassures them that loving you will not erase their identity. They want closeness, but they fear losing themselves in someone else's world. When they see that you have a strong sense of self, their fear begins to relax. They realize that being close to you will not consume them. All of these tests are not conscious manipulations. They are the instinctive behaviors of someone who wants love, but has been shaped by experiences that taught them to be cautious. They are trying to understand if their heart is safe with you, if you are someone who brings stability rather than chaos, if you can walk beside them without stepping into the inner spaces they are not yet ready to expose. When an avoidant starts to care about someone, their distance is often misunderstood as rejection, but in reality, it is a form of self-protection shaped by years of emotional conditioning. They do not pull back because they do not feel anything. They pull back because they feel so much that it begins to overwhelm them. Love, instead of feeling warm and inviting, triggers their old defenses. Their emotions become too loud, too powerful, too unpredictable, and their instinct is to retreat into the safety of their inner world where they can breathe again. They want closeness, but closeness brings vulnerability, and vulnerability is the very thing they have spent their whole life avoiding. Their distance is not a dismissal of you. It is a shield for themselves. It is their attempt to create space between what they feel and what they fear. Avoidants learned early on that depending on someone can lead to pain, disappointment, or loss. Their nervous system treats love as a potential threat, as something that could disrupt the fragile balance they maintain within. So when an avoidant pulls away, what they are really doing is trying to protect their heart from being overwhelmed or hurt. Their retreat is not about you, it is about their history. When they begin falling in love, they experience a deep internal conflict. Part of them wants connection, wants intimacy, wants to be seen and understood, but another part of them panics at the very thought of letting someone that close. So they move toward you in small steps and then pull back suddenly when their feelings become too strong. Their emotional distance becomes a way to regulate themselves, to control the intensity they feel. They believe that by creating space, they can keep their hearts safe, even if that space causes confusion for the person they care about. This distance is also a way for them to observe. From far away, they feel safer watching how you respond to their retreat. They want to see if you become angry, clingy, or demanding, because those reactions would confirm their worst fears about closeness. If they sense pressure, they retreat even further, not because they want to punish you, but because they fear being consumed or controlled. But if you remain calm, patient, and grounded, their fear begins to soften. They see that you are not a threat to their emotional safety, and this gives them the courage to step closer again, even if it is only for a moment. Avoidants often experience love as a contradiction. They crave emotional intimacy, yet they fear the vulnerability required to have it. Inside them, longing and fear coexist, and the tension between the two pushes them to withdraw even when their heart wants to stay. Their distance becomes a quiet battle. They do not want to lose you, but they also do not want to lose themselves. They fear that if they let you too close, you will expect more from them emotionally than they know how to give. Their fear of disappointing you becomes as strong as their fear of being hurt by you. Their silence during these moments is not coldness. It is a form of coping. It is how they regulate emotions that feel too big for them to handle. When feelings rise like a wave, they retreat to regain control. They need space, not because they have lost feelings, but because the feelings have become too intense. Space allows them to breathe, to think, to calm the storm inside. They distance themselves from the very person they want because they believe that closeness will expose their vulnerability, and vulnerability feels dangerous to them. When an avoidant pulls away, they often hope you won't take it personally. They hope you will not react in ways that prove their fears right. What they want, even if they cannot say it, is reassurance without pressure, presence without demands, connection without losing independence. Their distance is not an indication that they are letting go, it is a sign that they are overwhelmed by how much they care. This retreat is also a reflection of their struggle with trust. Trust for them is not built quickly, it is built slowly, through repeated experiences that show them they will not be judged, controlled, or abandoned when they allow someone close. Their distance can be seen as a test of emotional safety, but not in a manipulative way. It is simply their instinctual survival response to intimacy. They protect their heart not because they expect you to hurt them, but because their past taught them that closeness is unpredictable. Understanding this helps you see their distance for what it truly is. Not rejection, but fear shaped by love. Their heart wants to open, but their wounds want to close. Their love pulls them toward you, and their fear pushes them away, leaving them caught between desire and defense. Their retreat is not the end of connection. It is the beginning of their internal journey to learn how to love without running. When an avoidant begins to develop genuine feelings, they pay far more attention to your reactions than to your words. They study your behavior in silence, watching the way you move through emotional moments, how you handle uncertainty, and how you respond when they retreat or open up. This is because avoidants do not trust promises, declarations, or verbal reassurances. They have learned through past experiences that words can be empty, that people can say one thing and behave entirely differently. So instead of listening to what you tell them, they look for patterns that reveal who you truly are. Your reactions become the map they use to determine whether you're safe, whether you're stable, and whether they can let themselves move closer to you without losing their sense of emotional control. This observation begins the moment they pull back. When an avoidant distances themselves, it may not be a deliberate test, but it is always a moment of heightened sensitivity for them. They quietly watch whether you respond with anger, anxiety, or pressure. They want to see if you become demanding or clingy, because those reactions activate the memories they have of relationships that drained them or overwhelmed them. If your response becomes heavy or emotional in a way that feels suffocating, their instinctive reaction is to retreat deeper. But if you remain steady, calm, and grounded, you show them through action that you are not going to destabilize their inner world. They learn that you are capable of emotional regulation and that your connection with them is not built on neediness. They also watch how you behave when they show you small pieces of vulnerability. An avoidant rarely opens up fully, but when they care, they start revealing tiny fragments of their inner world. It may be something about their past, a soft insecurity, or a moment of emotional truth disguised in a joke or an offhand comment. In that moment, they observe your reaction more closely than you realize. If you respond with judgment, pressure, or excitement that is too intense, they retreat again. But if you handle their vulnerability gently without making them feel exposed or unsafe, they take note. They begin to see that they can share their inner world with you without feeling trapped or misunderstood. Avoidants also watch your patterns over time. They want to see whether your behavior remains consistent or whether it changes according to your mood, your expectations, or the level of emotional closeness. Consistency makes them feel safe. Emotional predictability reassures them. They look for someone who doesn't swing between extremes, someone who stays steady even when emotions rise. For an avoidant, emotional steadiness is love in action, and they notice it long before they ever acknowledge their feelings. They also pay close attention to your level of independence. They observe whether you have your own life, your own passions, your own stability outside of the relationship. When you have purpose beyond them, when you show that you don't rely on them to fill an emotional void, they begin to relax. They feel safer with someone who stands on their own feet because it means loving you won't require them to abandon themselves. Actions like pursuing your goals, maintaining friendships, or managing conflicts calmly all signal to them that you can walk beside them instead of pulling them into your emotional orbit. Your behavior during difficult moments matters even more. When misunderstandings happen or when you feel neglected during their emotionally distant phases, they watch how you handle the conflict. If you explode, blame, or punish them emotionally, they feel confirmed in their fear that closeness leads to chaos. But if you express your feelings calmly, with respect and clarity, they see that you can communicate without losing control. This becomes one of the strongest signals of emotional safety for them. They also observe how you treat other people. They evaluate how you handle stress, disappointment, or frustration. They notice whether you are kind when no one is watching. These subtle patterns tell them more about you than your affection for them does. If they see that you are emotionally grounded in the way you treat the world, they begin to trust that you will treat them the same way. Your reactions to their boundaries matter just as much. When they ask for space or time to process their feelings, they look to see if you respect that or if you push for closeness. Respecting their boundaries shows them that you are a partner, not a threat to their autonomy. It tells them that love with you will not suffocate them, and it strengthens their desire to stay connected. Avoidants are highly sensitive to emotional pressure, and they are equally sensitive to emotional stability. Every reaction you show, every moment of patience, every calm response during their moments of retreat becomes proof that you are a safe person to care about. They fall in love not through intensity, but through trust built slowly, through consistent behaviors that show them they can be themselves without fear. They learn your heart through the way you behave, not the way you speak, and it is your reactions that guide them forward or send them retreating back into the safety of their emotional walls. When an avoidant begins to fall in love, one of the clearest and most consistent ways they reveal it is through the way they test your reliability and emotional stability. This test is not intentional or manipulative. It comes from their deep fear of depending on someone who cannot hold emotional weight. For them, closeness is dangerous unless they know the other person is steady enough to handle the ebb and flow of their guarded nature. They do not look for perfection, they look for grounding. They do not need constant reassurance. They need emotional presence that remains intact even when the connection becomes complicated. Their heart is cautious, so they study your responses to see whether you can offer safety that is stable rather than chaotic. When they care, avoidants watch how you respond to disappointment. If they cancel plans, go quiet, or need space, they pay close attention to your reaction. They want to see if you become reactive, accusatory, or emotionally volatile, because instability is what frightens them the most. Their past experiences taught them that emotional intensity can easily become suffocating or overwhelming, so they protect themselves by pulling back when things feel heavy. But if you respond calmly, with understanding rather than pressure, you show them that connection with you does not demand their emotional exhaustion. Your calmness becomes proof that you are not going to drown them in your expectations. They also assess your reliability through consistency. Avoidants do not trust sudden bursts of affection followed by withdrawal. They want to see if your behavior stays steady over time. They observe whether you communicate in predictable ways, whether your moods remain balanced, whether you are emotionally available without being emotionally intrusive. Your consistency becomes a form of stability they learn to rely on, even if they never openly acknowledge it. When they know what to expect from you, their fear begins to ease. When you show up in the same grounded way again and again, they start to believe that you are safe to let closer. Another important part of this test lies in how you handle their vulnerability. Even small disclosures from an avoidant feel huge to them. When they share something personal, they want to know if you hold it with care or if you react in a way that adds pressure. If you turn their vulnerability into a demand for more, they close up again. But if you listen without pushing, if you respond with gentleness instead of urgency, they see that you can carry the weight of their emotions without trying to control them. That perception becomes essential to their ability to trust you. Avoidants also test your emotional stability by observing how you deal with conflict. They fear emotional explosions and unpredictable reactions. Emotional chaos triggers their instinct to retreat. They want to know if you can communicate without losing control, if you can express hurt without attacking, if you can navigate disagreements with maturity rather than impulsiveness. When you handle conflict with patience, clarity, and emotional balance, you show them that connection with you is not a threat. You prove that your presence is steady even during emotional storms, and that steadiness becomes the foundation that slowly lowers their guard. Your independence plays a vital role in this test as well. Avoidants want to see whether you can maintain your own emotional structure without relying on them to fill every void. They feel safest with someone who has their own purpose, their own life, their own emotional identity. When they see that you are secure within yourself, they feel less pressure to be your entire support system. Your independence tells them that loving you will not require them to abandon their autonomy. It reassures them that you can walk beside them rather than clinging to them. They also study your reactions in moments when their emotions fluctuate. Avoidants experience inner turbulence when they start caring deeply, and they want to know if you can remain steady when they are not. If they sense panic in your response to their temporary withdrawal, they interpret it as instability. But if you remain grounded, they begin to trust that their emotional shifts will not destabilize you. This trust is essential for them to feel safe enough to deepen the connection. The most subtle part of this test is how they watch your energy. They look for someone who carries emotional calmness rather than emotional urgency. They gravitate toward people who respond, not react, who listen, not demand, who remain secure in themselves rather than seeking constant validation. Your emotional stillness becomes the anchor they do not realize they have been craving. Avoidants fall in love slowly because they must observe, evaluate, and confirm the safety of the emotional space they are letting you enter. They test your reliability and stability not to judge you, but to reassure themselves that they will not lose themselves in the process of loving you. When they see that you remain emotionally grounded, that you do not collapse under pressure, that you do not try to control their emotional rhythms, they finally begin to feel secure. And for an avoidant, security is the doorway to love. When an avoidant begins to fall in love, one of the strongest ways they test the connection is by examining your reliability and emotional stability. They are constantly watching how you manage your feelings, how you respond to stress, and how you handle the moments when they shift between closeness and distance. For them, emotional security is not just a preference, but a necessity, because their entire attachment system is built on the belief that relationships become dangerous when emotions run too high. So when their heart becomes involved, they start observing you with quiet intensity, searching for signs that you are steady enough to be trusted, consistent enough to feel safe, and grounded enough to handle the inner conflict they live with every day. Avoidants do not test stability in dramatic ways. They do it subtly, often without even realizing it. When they pull back suddenly, they are not only regulating their own emotional overwhelm, but also watching how you respond. If you stay centered instead of panicked, patient instead of reactive, they feel a little more at ease. They notice when you can give them space without making them feel guilty. They notice when you don't interpret their distance as rejection, but as something that reflects their inner nature. Every time you respond with calmness during their retreat, you communicate something powerful to them, that you are not going to turn love into chaos. They also test reliability through your consistency. Avoidants feel safest with people who behave predictably, They want to know that your affection does not depend on their performance, that your mood does not fluctuate wildly, and that your presence does not disappear the moment something becomes uncomfortable. When you show up in the same honest, balanced, and authentic way, even when emotional tension rises, you demonstrate that you are not driven by impulsive reactions. This consistency is soothing for them because it allows them to slowly let down their guarded nature. Your emotional stability during conflicts matters even more. Avoidants do not respond well to emotional outbursts, raised voices, intense demands, or overwhelming expressions of need. These things make them feel cornered or responsible for emotions they cannot manage. When they love someone, they look for signs that disagreements can happen without turning into emotional explosions. If you can communicate your disappointment or hurt without attacking them, blaming them, or making them responsible for your emotional state, their nervous system begins to relax. They start to believe that closeness with you will not drown them in emotional intensity. Reliability also shows in the way you handle your own life. Avoidants admire emotional independence, not because they want someone distant, but because independence signals safety to them. If you can manage your responsibilities, give yourself support, and function without relying entirely on them for validation, they feel more comfortable moving closer. It tells them that the relationship will not consume them or demand more from them than they can give. When they fall in love, they want someone who can be a partner, not someone who needs rescuing or constant reassurance. They also study how you treat yourself. If you practice self-respect, set healthy boundaries, and maintain a stable sense of identity, you show them that you are grounded. They don't want perfection, but they do want to know that you are emotionally mature enough to handle love without losing yourself. When you handle your emotions with clarity rather than chaos, with reflection rather than reactivity, they begin to trust you with parts of themselves they usually keep hidden. Another way they test reliability is by revealing small pieces of their true nature. They might open up slightly, share something personal, or express a vulnerable thought. In that moment, they watch closely. How you respond to that vulnerability tells them everything about whether you are safe or not. If you react with gentleness, understanding, and calmness, they feel encouraged to open up again. If you treat their vulnerability casually or pressure them for more, they retreat. Their testing does not come from manipulation, but from deeply ingrained survival patterns. They need to know that love will not turn into chaos, that their emotions will not be used against them, and that the person they care for will not fall apart the moment things get complicated. Reliability and emotional stability are the foundation of how an avoidant determines whether they can let down their guard, whether they can trust the connection, and whether they can allow love to grow without fearing its consequences. When an avoidant begins to fall in love, their feelings rarely show in dramatic expressions or loud declarations. Instead, their love reveals itself in subtle behaviors, quiet shifts, and delicate emotional openings that often go unnoticed by people who expect traditional signs of affection. Avoidants fall in love in small, almost invisible ways. Their love grows not through words, but through contradictions between their usual behavior and the new softness that emerges when their heart begins to care. These small shifts are their true signals, their way of saying, "I'm trying," without having to confront the vulnerability of saying it aloud. One of the first subtle signs is increased presence. Avoidants are naturally distant and guarded, but when they love someone, they start showing up more often than usual. They might not express it verbally, but their attempts to be around you, even in small ways, are meaningful. They linger a little longer in conversations. They reply faster than before. They initiate contact occasionally, even if they keep it casual. These small steps are big emotional moves for them. They are not trying to overwhelm you. They are trying to test how it feels to be closer without losing themselves. You also begin to see softness in their tone. Avoidants are careful with emotional expression, but when they love, their voice changes in subtle ways. They speak more gently. They ask how you are doing with genuine interest. They listen more closely, even if they don't always respond with depth. Their softness is quiet, not dramatic. It shows in patience, in curiosity, in the way they remember small details about your life that you didn't expect them to hold on to. They are not indifferent. They are quietly attentive. They also show love in the way they become more consistent with their actions. Avoidants usually struggle with consistency because emotional closeness feels overwhelming to them. But when they fall in love, they start trying. They may still retreat, but they return faster. They may pull back, but they check in sooner. Their inconsistency becomes less chaotic and more balanced. These shifts are their way of showing that your presence matters enough for them to push against their own patterns. Another subtle sign is the way they begin to share pieces of their inner world. Avoidants rarely open up emotionally, but when love begins to take root, they start revealing small vulnerabilities. They might tell you about a childhood memory, a fear, a dream, or something they rarely mention. These moments may seem insignificant, but for an avoidant, they are deep acts of trust. Every disclosure is an invitation to step closer, an unspoken confession that you matter enough for them to risk being seen. Their body language also changes when they fall in love. Avoidants are protective of their personal space, but with someone they care about, that boundary softens. They may sit closer, lean in during conversations, or maintain eye contact longer than usual. They may reach out with small gestures, handing you something gently, brushing past you, or offering subtle physical support. These tiny acts of closeness reflect a growing comfort within the space they once guarded so fiercely. Another quiet sign is how they become more observant of your needs. Avoidants are not naturally intuitive in relationships, but when they love, they notice things more. They remember what makes you uncomfortable, what makes you smile, what you prefer, and what you avoid. They begin adjusting their behavior in small ways to make you feel safe. They might give you more time, more patience, or more understanding. They may not express affection directly, but they express it through thoughtful actions born from genuine care. An avoidant also shows love through protection, not in a territorial sense, but in a subtle desire to keep your emotions and well-being safe. They might check in when you seem stressed, offer practical help instead of emotional speeches, or quietly support you during difficult moments. Their love language is often action, not words. They show up when it matters, even if they don't articulate how they feel. The deepest subtle sign appears when they let you into their silence. Avoidants guard their alone time fiercely, but when they fall in love, they allow you into their quiet moments. They feel comfortable simply being near you without needing to entertain, impress, or explain. This comfort is a rare gift from them. It means they feel safe enough to exist around you without a mask, without calculation, without fear. These quiet shifts form the language of avoidant love. Their subtle behaviors reveal what their guarded words hide. They fall in love gently, quietly, slowly, through the cracks of their defenses, through every soft moment they allow you to see.